Good morning. Welcome to this edition of the Richard Urban Show. Today, July 1st, 2018, I'm starting a special series. It is called Sex Wars in Washington, D.C. I am your host, Richard Urban, coming to you from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. And this morning, I'd like to wish a special happy anniversary to the 2,075 couples that were blessed in marriage in Madison Square Garden. My wife and I, Stacy, are celebrating our 36th anniversary, and we are kings and queens of God's kingdom, thus the crown. And definitely, we are very happy to have participated there. That's also considered part of the 8,000 couples. There were also 6,000 couples blessed in marriage by Reverend Sun Myung Moon on October 14th, 2002. Together, it's known as 8,000 couples. And we are happy to be one of those blessed couples. So I'd like to start this series and this program with a reading from the words of Reverend Sun Myung Moon. This is from the CARP Sports Fest, November 30th, 1997, Washington, D.C. The absence of chaste love has brought about the destruction of the family and cast a shadow over the future of humanity. Throughout history, people have placed value and importance on chastity because it is directly connected to respect for life. Respect for chastity leads to respect for the value of life. Such respect also leads one to love his or her own people and all humanity. Furthermore, the person who is pure and chaste is more able to see and commune with God. The United States, it made a strong country in many ways, but the reality is not strong when it comes to people making their purity and chastity. If Washington, D.C. is to maintain absolute dignity as the capital city of the entire world, then the citizens of this city must become first in the world in leading chaste lives. On the day that Washington, D.C. becomes the holy capital of chastity and pure love, the United States will be loved and respected by the entire world. That ends my reading. So, this series is entitled Sex Wars in Washington, D.C. So today I'm going to give an introduction to that topic and what it's about. And what it's about is, starting in 2002, I started working in Washington, D.C. in the capacity of teaching about sexual abstinence before marriage. Since actually 1997, I've been involved in that area of, sex education, or specifically abstinence-centered sex education, and started working actually with DC Public Schools then. And then we actually formed, that started in 1997, we actually formed a nonprofit program. And the reason I call this Sex Wars is because I found out as I progressed in this work that, it truly is a war. And if you're not sure if it's a war, just go ahead and go down to your local school, talk to the teacher, the principal, and start teaching about sexual abstinence, or propose that you teach about it, and, bring an excellent curriculum forward. Like we have our own curriculum, and we use the Relationship Intelligence curriculum by Relationship Intelligence Institute, Dr. Richard Panzer, which is very good. Well, just bring such materials to your school, and you'll find out that there is a sex war. So what am I talking about here? Well, recently I was looking into the history of abstinence-centered education, and I pulled up this, I found this article on this website I hadn't been aware of, but I'm becoming more and more aware of these kind of websites. So I'd like to share this article. So this organization that I'm referring to is called the National Coalition Against Censorship, which is actually just the opposite of what it is. As you'll see as I unveil my Sex Wars saga in Washington, D.C., it's these people who are censoring, these people being leftist lunatics and people of questionable moral character. Okay, so what does this National Coalition Against Censorship do? Well, I can tell you what, they're firmly opposed to the teaching of sexual abstinence. So here's a article. The NCAC applauds the Metropolitan Museum of Art's refusal to remove painting. Okay, so here you see this painting. Now, what does this painting look like? Well, it looks like a young, prepubescent girl, like 14, in a sexually suggestive pose, obviously here, inviting some perverted older man to have sex with her. And it even says in here that these paintings by, this is called Teresa, whatever, Dreaming, Balthus, is part of their permanent collection. So they say Balthus is known for its ambiguous depictions of adolescents who dream or read in rooms closed off the outside world. What is this talking about? This group is really promoting having sex with children. The same kind of crap that we've been seeing in the news constantly with sexual exploitation in Hollywood, with homosexual sex exploitation, exploitation of children, child trafficking. These people want to legitimize this crap and then say that it's okay. Of course they're against abstinence-centered education, because people who are teaching abstinence-centered education don't want children to be abused by anybody, okay? So, this is crazy. So, of course, this group did this big write-up on so-called on abstinence-centered education. They pejoratively call it abstinence-only education. Started 81, known as a chastity law. Yeah, right. I mean, this, by the way, this funding was obliterated under Obama, and it's been somewhat restored in 2010. Now, by the way, our organization, Herbalife Training, has not been a recipient of any of these funds, and actually, we're not trying to apply for any of these funds. But I think if groups want to apply for, since groups are teaching about sexual education, and mostly it's condom-centered education, and it doesn't promote sexual abstinence, it promotes, in fact, some of the programs may even increase children's sexual activity, which we'll cover in later installments, so I think it's okay for groups to apply for this. So this organization really, this is totally baloney against censorship. So they're trying to say, because under First Amendment, they can try to legitimize sexual exploitation of children. And this is done in the realm of saying, oh, we don't want any censorship. We're for First Amendment rights. So during this series, you'll see how it's just exactly the opposite. This is kind of like, reminds you of the whole thing with President Trump. Like right now, they're saying, Trump, impeach him, oh, Russiagate. Whereas it's Hillary Clinton and all these crazy lunatics. They're the ones who should be thrown in jail. Who is it that, did all this deal with Russia and sold 20% of her uranium to Russia, received millions of dollars from foreign entities while she's Secretary of State, and they're investigating Trump? This is the same kind of tactic. Oh, look at these abstinence people. They're stifling free thought. What the heck? It's just exactly the opposite. Nobody said that, anyway, it's exactly the opposite. So we're going to be covering this very interesting saga. I think it's important for people to know what goes on. I've had a really interesting experience working in DC education, and had experience with the former school chancellor, Michelle Rhee, and many of her, officials in that administration. And many of these people, they're still circulating, they're still around. And in fact, Michelle Rhee, as you remember, was considered for President Trump's Secretary of Education. So I wrote an editorial about that. I can link here, or a blog about that. Are you kidding? This woman isn't qualified to, sweep the floor at the school, never mind to be Secretary of Education. So in any case, we see this kind of battle going on, and we can see that it is really a sex war, where you got to understand the deeper aspect of it. You could say it's a spiritual battle, sure, but even if you don't look at it is a spiritual battle. I mean, I will say that for sure, but it's also a battle of good versus evil. It's a battle of right versus wrong. It's a battle of those who want to legitimize having sex with children and pedophilia and child abuse under the name of freedom, of First Amendment freedom, but they want to squelch anybody who is teaching sexual abstinence education. And especially, they want to squelch them because they know that a lot of people are doing this are people who believe in Jesus Christ. Christians. Oh no, we can't have a Christian school. But wait a minute. I thought we had separation church and state. Sure, that means so I can't be a Christian and I can't step in a school and teach sex education. Wrong. So it's totally the opposite of what they say in reality. Okay, so was a very interesting point that this article brings up. I also want to point out here, this is also on their website, a statement on abstinence-only joint statement opposition. Students in abstinence-only programs, I should say abstinence-centered program, receive only information consistent with the abstinence until marriage message instead of a comprehensive review of the facts about concepts of safe sex practice and sexuality. Well, I've been teaching these programs for, wow, actually over 21 years now. And I can tell you as a fact, and I've taken trainings in several curriculums, the relationship intelligence curriculum and several other ones, actually a total of about 4 curriculums, Project Reality and others. And they all give comprehensive facts. The only thing they don't do is give demonstrations of using contraceptive devices. That's it. And in fact, one of the big providers in DC was Metro Teenage, and I think they still are, of sex education. And I've been to their presentations, and they don't even talk about condom failure rates, which they say here are overblown. Well, they don't even cover them. And I asked the guy, why don't you cover the fact that condoms don't work, X amount of time? Depending on the disease, it could be 50%. Oh, we don't want to discourage anyone from using them. Well, that's totally non-fact based, which totally throws out this whole argument. I would say the abstinence-centered education, not I would say, it is much more fact-based than the so-called comprehensive education. So much for that. So in conclusion of this introductory segment, yes, we're going to be going through the interesting work I had working in DC and with DC public schools for approximately 16 years. No, more than that even. So we'll be covering that and all of the interesting stories and meeting with Michelle Rhee and so many interesting and concerning things that happen, because we need to know this is a battle, and we shouldn't be so stupid as to think it's just about, oh, one type of sex education against another. No, it's actually the battle for the very well-being of our country, because if you have a country that legitimizes sex between children and adults and pedophilia, you have lost the basis of your country. I don't care if you're religious or non-religious. You're going down the tubes. So, this is Richard Urban, and this is the Richard Urban Show on sex wars in Washington, D.C. We hope you've enjoyed this introductory installment. Again, a very happy anniversary to the 36th anniversary of the 2075 and 8,000 couples blessed by Reverend Sun Myung Moon. I do appreciate that blessing, and I hope that you too will be blessed and have a great day, and we will see you next time. This is Richard Urban reporting from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Take care.